didn't tape that. Hi, welcome back to the couch. I'm Alicia, also known as AK-47, and you're watching the Lupin About podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing. I looked a bit flummoxed right there at the beginning of this because I realized I did this entire broadcast and didn't tape it. Yep, just did it. Fun times. I think in the 50 episodes that I've put up on the interwebs, I've only done this once. So I guess we start all over again. I didn't like the first one anyway, so I might as well make it better now. I've been home a lot the last couple weeks because we decided to leave last you saw to go on another climbing trip and realized that Sean's shoulder was just not gonna cut it. He aggravated it a couple months ago and didn't want to see a doctor about it because he wanted to go on vacation and do climbing. So it was one of those moments. And then the first 2.5 weeks of climbing that we did during his vacation, it aggravated it a little bit more. So a couple days after I recorded last, he had an appointment. We went in. Turns out, because of his stature, he's short and stout and quite muscular. He's hard to diagnose, so they needed an MRI. So a couple days later, we get the okay that our insurance is going to cover it, and find out that he can't get an MRI for 3 more weeks. So for the last couple weeks, we have been kind of keeping Sean in good spirits. We'll say that. So we've been doing tiny adventures on the light rail into the city. Low impact stuff. We haven't been working out, haven't gone climbing, have complained about it. But mostly I've just been kind of around trying to keep his spirits high and not dwelling on what could be wrong with his shoulder. So I've got some knitting done. So let me show you. The first FO I'm going to show you is a sock pattern that I'm testing for myself. And I'm testing that with Annetta and Mandy. This is not a yarn sponsor yarn sock. This is my pre-test test sock. So this is out of Penguin Soup yarn. She used to be a prolific dyer and independent dyer, and she was supposed to be back this month, but I have yet to see her produce any yarn for sale. So maybe Ginny's back, but this is Penguin Soup. The purple is the Dowager Countess, and that was from her Downton Abbey series. And this is Oogie Boogie, the green. So this is micro striped. So it's a line of purple, a line of green, a line of purple, a line of green, all the way through it. I'm not going to show you the motif because I haven't released my pattern yet, but you get kind of a sneak peek of it right there. I don't think you can tell from there. If you want to see the motif, we're doing a test in the Lupin About threads, and you can see more pictures there. So the green colorway has the purple in it, so it's a little bit muddy. The second sock that I have is a hoe. It doesn't quite fit on the black sock blockers, but I will stretch it out a little bit so you can take a look at it. This is my mom's sock, and she wears a US 5 where I wear a US 8. So it'll fit on these blockers, but it does require a little bit of stretching. Now this is in my yarn sponsor yarn, which is from Holly, and she runs the dyeing studio of Fishbelly Fiberworks. And this is a pink and a green. I'd call this coral, so it's an orangey pink. It's called Summer Sunset, and the green is Tree Line Streets. And I have them here individually, so you can actually see them as individual colors, because they do get a little bit muddy when you stripe them. Isn't that gorgeous, super tonal green? See the darks and the lights in there? And then this is more of a less tonal. It's more of a solid, a semi-solid, I guess you would call it. No, I would say it's more solid. And then a tonal of green. Holly, thank you so much. She sent yarn for me and Annetta and Mandy. Mandy's doing a purple and a green rendition of my sock. Annetta's doing a green and a yellow, more of a golden color. It's honey and olive are the two colorways she's doing. And Mandy is doing muscadine, which is a purple with tree line streets. So her and I are sharing the green in our socks. Now I haven't seen hers yet, but Annetta's is gorgeous. So I'm trying to get those done to send off to Holly because she's doing a trunk show around where she lives. And she lives up in New Hampshire. So if you're from there or watch this and you're local to New Hampshire, you should probably check her out. I will have the information coming up at the bottom because I don't know if she told me where her trunk show was, but I'm gonna find out for you. My second finished object has to do with the Harry Potter knit along I'm doing. Those socks are actually gonna qualify for one of the challenges, and that's for Dobby, who is a house elf in the Harry Potter books, and he gets his freedom by his master throwing him a sock. And so he was given clothing by his master and therefore got freedom from being a house elf. So on that theme, one of the challenges is called the Free Dobby campaign, and finished socks that you knit in the month of October counts for that challenge. So I'm going to get 2 sets done because, yes, I told you I only have a hoe of this one, but the other one is at the toe box, so I'm almost done. Very excited. So my second finished object that I have to show you is for the main challenge in October, which is called Ginny Loves Harry. And this is called the Sports Shorts by Stephen West. And Ginny and Harry had Quidditch in common, and they played the same position, which was seeker. And that was actually one of the first times that Ginny started having conversations with Harry that weren't really awkward. And they finally had something in common. They became friends, and then in the end, they came together after that to live happily ever after. So I used the link sports, which was for Quidditch, in order to qualify for that challenge. So 50 points for Ravenclaw. So Ravenclaw is my group. I'm going for Seeker. So in order to get Seeker status, every main challenge in this 3-month knit along, which there's a main challenge every month, you have to use O-Loops yarn. So in this case, I used Magical Quill and Nicholas Flamel. So the Magical Quill is the purple, and Nicholas Flamel is the blue. Just beautiful. For a while, I thought there wasn't enough contrast between these two colors, but now that it's knit up, really, really like them together. And there's a finishing note at the bottom, which is an I-cord bind-off in your secondary color, so that purple comes in again at the bottom. There's a dart on each side of the short. It's a super great construction, pretty easy. There are some, you have to be intuitive with some things. You have to figure out how long this I-cord is going to be. I decided to make it 12 inches longer than the waistband that I chose, so I chose to do the size 30. It turns out now that they're washed, they don't fit Sean. They're too big. He's swimming in them. So I either need to pull it out and do it again 2 sizes smaller, or he can say he's just going to use the drawstring to draw up the sides. But in actuality, I pinched to here to make it fit Sean's waist now that this is washed. And that's how much fabric I'm going to have to get rid of, right? That's folded over. So seriously does not fit. I measured him, and his waist is about, he usually wears size 30, waist for things. His waist is probably a 32, 34. So he already puts in negative ease, and it says to have 2 inches of negative ease. So I said, you know what? He likes size 30. I'm just going to do it. That's the size he likes to wear. Well, it turns out he's going to need a 26 because how much I've pinched off, that's 2 sizes smaller, stitch count wise, if I cut out that many stitches from here to here. So you know how much I love to reknit things. So I don't know. We're deciding the fate on it at a later point because he knows how much I don't want to reknit it, and he doesn't think I'll have the drive to finish it in anytime soon at this point. I was driven to finish it because it was the main challenge of October, but I don't know if doing it a second time, I'm going to have the same drive to do it in a matter of weeks. So we'll see. You win some, you lose some, right? And this is what happens when you don't swatch. Am I ever going to swatch in the future? No, this doesn't change my mind. It's one of the consequences of not swatching. You're going to make things that don't fit. So that's what it is. Sean, if you're watching, yeah, Sean, I'm talking to you. I know you watched this. I'd like you to skip ahead, and at the bottom of the screen, I will tell you what time you can jump to so you don't see what I'm about to show you. I've got some Christmas knitting I'm very excited about. All right, so the first thing I finished was this adorable sweater. So one of the challenges is Unsung Heroes. This one I did for Molly Weasley because she makes jumpers and there's letters on them. Well, there's no letter on this one, but in my finished picture, I drew on the picture, like you could, if this were the screen, you could draw on the screen an S. So I did S for Sean. So that's his little jumper. That's for Molly Weasley. This is a pattern by Amy Munson. Super easy. This took about 6 grams of yarn. I did it in the Tart colorway from Madeline Tosh Pashmina, which was the leftovers of the shawl that I showed you last week that was complete and I sent off to Annette. I decided to make a little memory project out of it, and this will be an ornament for the tree. Because it's sport weight, I went up a needle size. It calls for a US 1, and I did this on a US 1.5 because there's really not much difference between fingering and sport, but I knew that it would probably be not the fabric I want if I stuck to a US 1. Plus, my US 1s were already in use, which was in my sock. And I was already sharing needles between 2 socks, and I wasn't going to share it with one more project. So I used a US 1.5, which is by Addie. It's a 2.5 millimeter. Super cute. When it's raglan top down, and when you drop off the sleeves, I just put them on a US 0 that I use for magic loop. So it's a long cord, and I could use just that one long cord in a fixed circular to hold those stitches to come back to it. It's a little bit fiddly for the first 2 rows for the body of this sweater. It's no big deal. Yeah, super happy with it. It's a great pattern if you're looking for a sweater pattern. And there are a lot of little sweater patterns out there. This one, I just liked the proportion the best, and it turned out really nice. I'm really happy with that finished object. The second finished object that I made for Sean, and it was the day I was going to go out to my parents' house to do some sewing, which you'll see some sewing in just a second. I decided I'll leave him a little something to find when he comes back from work, because he would have gone to work and I would leave before he came home. So I made him this tiny little sock. This is called It's the Balm Sock by Julie Tarsha. Fantastic pattern. I'm not happy with the fabric it produces because this is fingering on US 3s. So it is quite see-through. I don't know if you can tell. It's quite floppy. So I kind of want a stiffer stocking to put on an ornament in the tree. But this was super fun. I put a little chapstick in there and he found it on his desk, and it turns out he doesn't care for it to hold his chapstick, and so he put one of his little figurines in there, and it sits on his desk. He noticed right away that it was the yarn that he used for his first sock knitting, where he made the first sock and I made the second sock, and it is Chappelle, one of their Zauber balls, and it changes, right? So this isn't a contrasting heel, this is from the same yarn, and it was just starting to change at the toe. And then when I picked up the Afterthought heel, it made a contrasting heel. So I have a contrasting heel and toe on this tiny little sock. He's super stoked with it. It gave me something to give him and show him, because I haven't been able to show him this, and I'm not going to be able to show him the next one of these. That's actually going to go on the tree. So it's just a fun little side project. And this counted for Dobby as an unsung hero, and that same challenge that I put in for Molly as an unsung hero. So those were super fun. I found another sock today, a little mini one that I'm gonna put on the tree. I think it's super cute. It's lacy, and it's called the Fox Mini Sock, or the Fox FAWKES mini lace pattern sock. Yeah, that's up at the bottom. You can see. So yeah, those were my finished objects for knitting. And then I've been so busy too. And the first thing that I want to show you, so that, you know, Sean can skip this part, is that I've done my first my first circular sewing object. Now it doesn't look like anything right now. It's just a two-sided circle with a diameter of 5 inches. But I'm making some origami or folded ornaments. So the machine sewing is done, which you turn it inside out, do the seam, leave an opening, unstuff it, and then do this top stitch. I'm very proud of my top stitch on this one. I haven't been very good at top stitching, even up to now. And this shouldn't be included in anything spectacular, but it's the best I've ever done, so I'm super stoked on that. But anyway, the machine sewing is done, and then the rest of it is going to require me to fold and sew, and yeah. So this will be something you will see in the future, and probably on Instagram, so that I can keep it a secret from Sean, and he doesn't have to skip anything. Yeah, so I picked up a lot of Christmas fabric, and since I was picking up Christmas fabric just for the Wonky Stars round 4 swap I'm going to do, I decided, well, I should probably just make some more sewing things from what I'm going to have lots of scraps of, right? So that was my thought. I finished some stars. This is not for the Christmas swap. This is for my round 3 people that wanted to do a side swap. So 6 out of those 11 people that I participated with wanted to do some more side swap stars. So I'm putting them, I made 2 for everyone. Like that planet, my orange. Awesome. I really tried to do single colored things, and I just couldn't do it mostly. So this one started off with mushrooms, and this woman loves red, orange, and yellow. So that was easy. I started with the mushrooms and just drew out all the reds, oranges, and yellows. This person prefers stars that read as one color, so this one's green. And this one's yellow. With my cabin in the woods, or cabin in the mountains. Thank you, Annetta. Annetta sent me a bunch of yellows. And I started with the origami, and I drew out the colors from the cranes that were blue and pink in that purple origami piece. This one kind of reads all blue, kind of. And then one in the group wanted Christmas. So for the Christmas swap, I'm thinking of doing this exact star a couple times, because the stamps work so well in that centerpiece. Those are all stamps. And I got a Christmas tree, and I decapitated Santa down here at the bottom. I don't think she'll mind. I hope she doesn't mind. I noticed it after I came home. And then her first one, I found the smallest little foundation paper piece candy cane, and I put that in for the center. And that was from my first purchase of Christmas stuff, where I came home and it was poinsettias and holly and greens and reds. And Sean looked at me and he's like, "That's not Christmas." I said, "Sure, it's Christmas." He's like, "No, where's Santa and ornaments? And there's not even Christmas trees in any of the things you bought." I thought, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I was going off a winter theme. So I went back and I picked up some stuff the following week after I'd made that one, because he called me out on it not being really Christmas. And since he is such a Christmas fanatic, I took his lead and went out and bought some more Christmas themed stuff. So for my actual Christmas swap, which is round 4, I will be ready for real Christmas. Oh, I couldn't believe how much of a failure he called me when I came home from that. Yeah, so that's my next sewing adventures, is going to be Christmas themed stars. And then some other things for Sean. His birthday is early December, and then he's bonkers for Christmas. So this is going to be a fun little event for him. Last you saw of my trees pullover, as I'm calling it, because I cannot pronounce this word down here, of this Diana Walla pattern. It's an Icelandic city, if I'm recalling properly. So I have a little hard time pronouncing it. But it's beautiful. It's got trees. And the last you saw of my progress, I had the 2 sleeves done. You know, the pure black knitting that I showed you last time? Well, it hasn't gotten more interesting. I've only done the bottom section of the body at this point. You can see ribbing and some stockinette. This is 8.5 inches for the first skein of yarn. I started a brand new skein for the bottom of this body, and I knit until I ran out of yarn. The 4th skein hasn't even been caked up yet. But I wanted to show you that that's as far as one skein can go. It says to go 17 inches for the body, but I think I'm going to have to add a few inches to that. So that's not even half of the distance to where I need to go. I have one more full skein, and then I have these 2 tiny skeins left over from the sleeves. So I'm hoping that'll make it to the color work, which is after I pick up the sleeves with the body and do the yoke. But we'll see. I guess we'll find out together. I'm probably playing yarn chicken again, which is a normal phenomenon from the couch, as you already know. So let's see, that was my work in progress. I have one other work in progress, which I mentioned earlier, with my 2 skeins of fish belly fibers. As you recall, Summer Sunset and Tree Line Streets. I have Mom's second sock. I'm not going to show you the other side because you can definitely see the motif because it's not on a sock blogger and it's flat knitting. But you can see that I've done the cuff and the heel straight into the stripes which make up this pattern. It's micro striped. So it's 1 stripe of green, 1 stripe of pink all the way down. And then it's a mosaic pattern with cables. So a little bit more work than a mosaic knitting, which is just slip stitches in a striped pattern, right? Pretty simple. I really enjoy it. I found that I started this one too high on the gusset, so it's rather tight for my mom to put it on. So this required me to make a smaller chart, and it gave me some troubles. And then come to find out, when I thought I was probably at the toe box when I was done with this, I wasn't. I had like 3 more inches to go. So then I realized, well, in the second sock, I should just rip back. I was knitting them in tandem. They were both past this chart in both socks when I went out to see if it fit Mom. So I finished the first sock while I was there and realized, you know, it's not where I want it to be, and it's going to be sent to Holly for her trunk show, so I need to make the second one proper. So I ripped back yesterday. No, I ripped back 2 days ago, and removed all the stitches from the start of the chart down, and then knit all the way through the gusset on this second sock, and then started the chart after the gusset. So it should be a lot, should be less snug for my mom to put these on next time. So the pineapple will be a little bit further down on the foot between the two socks, but it's a test sock, and that's what happens, right? I could take this one back, but I'm not gonna, because I want to be done this month. And that's all there is to it. I have enough. So how much yarn did you need to make your sock? Would be your question, right? I showed you my FOs already. So these ones, and this is a different base than the one I'm using. So, and it's a lot bigger than what I made for my mom. But for my sock, which is a US 8, and I wear a size medium, this is the medium size for my sock pattern, I used 30 grams of purple and 15 grams of green. Yeah, so 45 grams to make a pair of socks. And so my idea behind these socks was that we make full-size socks, which have a 6-inch cuff most of the time, right? And we're left with over 40 grams of a full skein left behind. So what do you do with that 40 grams? Because it's not going to make a shorty pair. I needed 50 grams for some other shorties that I've made, right? And this one's going to require 45 grams. So I thought, well, this could help reduce our leftover stash if I just combine 2 different colorways, and you could use equal amounts of colorway, right? I could have done my second sock with my contrasting heel, cuff, and toe in green, and then stripe the purple, right? So I would only need 20 grams. You would only need 30 grams of each color if you did it that way, right? If you interpolated the 2 colors for each sock. So that's an idea. So if you have 2 30-gram skeins out there, you could make this sock, and they would be fraternal twins, right? Because one would have a purple cuff and the other one would have a green cuff. So that was my idea, is what do we do with these extra bits of sock that we have? And actually, I have a bunch that are self-striping. So I was thinking one of these that I want to make is going to be incorporating self-striping as my main color, and then a plain, like a solid that isn't part of the stripes, so that it doesn't disappear in some sections of this. Yeah, that was my thought, is what do we do with our leftover sock skeins if we don't want to make a bunch of mini skeins and trade with people? What if we still love that colorway and we can't seem to part with it, but we also don't know what to use it for? Another pair of socks. I love shorties. I didn't think I was going to like them. I didn't think they were going to stay up. I thought they were always going to be diving into my shoes. So far, I don't have that problem with these hand knit socks. So that was exciting for me. So if you like shorties as much as I like shorties, and you have leftovers to use, I have a pattern coming out that you might enjoy. So that is all my works in progress and my FOs. I did a lot of sewing. I'm seriously more interested in sewing right now than knitting. And I think a lot of it has to do with the time. The time commitment for sewing is so much smaller, and it's cheaper, because for me, I've gotten a lot of scraps, and I love scrap sewing. Love it. Now, if I didn't like foundation paper piecing, or if I didn't like the look of scrappy stuff, it could get expensive, right? If I was looking for yards and yards of one fabric, maybe it would start getting super expensive. But mostly what I'm buying a lot of is background for these stars. because that requires a lot of background color. But mostly I get away with a lot of my scraps. I used a lot of scraps from here. Some of them was the scraps from the Wappet bucket. So yeah, I think because of my affinity towards scraps, this is so much cheaper than the yarn. So if you don't like the crinkling of bags, you might want to turn down the volume at this point. But I went to a quilt show, Sewing Expo. I don't even know what it was called. Hopefully I've looked it up since then. But I went with the mission of buying pinking shears because I finished another project that you probably, oh no, I didn't even show it on Instagram. Another project I can't show Sean, so I don't have it with me. Needed pinking shears. I bought really good ones. They're called Kai, K-A-I. And they were, I think they were like $40 for a pair of scissors. So now I need to find more things to do with them. Because now I don't know if I justified the purchase just to make 2 little things for Sean. We'll see. But then my other mission was to buy a 6-inch by 28-inch ruler because I don't have a long ruler. I've been watching a lot of Craftsy videos because they had a free week a couple weeks back. And I watched every quilting thing that I had interest in and then some. I was able to watch in that week of free Craftsy, and my brain was fried from all that learning. But a common theme that kept reoccurring in these things was a really long ruler, and I don't have a really long one. I think my longest one is 12 inches, which if you're gonna cut precisely long pieces of fabric, even if you're folding your fabric in half, that still requires 20 inches of length, right? So I don't have anything that, and so most of my precise cutting is done folded twice, and you get less accurate the more folds you put into your fabric before you cut it. So I'm gonna go with their advice, and I need to find a bigger tool for cutting. So I saw some there, but I didn't want to lug it around. And then the third thing I was looking for was a wool ironing mat. Have you guys heard of these things? I'm really excited about it. I saw them used in demos at this quilt show, but nobody was selling them, so I didn't pick it up. What I did pick up, okay, so remember last time, the last quilt show I went to, and I think it was in February timeframe, maybe March, lots of episodes ago, and I came back with fabric and a little project, which was kimonos, and they were foundation paper pieced, and I said, when I finish my quilt, that's going to be my next thing that I make that's, you know, my next big project. Well, that booth was there again, and they have beautiful Japanese prints. That's all they sell. It's Japanese prints and sashiko stuff, which is their Japanese embroidery. So pieces of fabric that have the stencil marks that you could follow for embroidery, and it's sashiko. It's beautiful. Well, they had things matched, so they would have like a 4-pack of fat quarters that go together, right? So they had coordinating fabrics, and I was looking at those, and I was staring at a wall of that for a while, and it was pricey, and I was thinking, and it's fat quarters, or they're half yards each, and what am I gonna do with all those big pieces? Because really, I don't want to make the big project to have the scraps. I just want the scraps. Well, my auntie called me over and she's like, they've got a bag of scraps. So I bought this bag of Japanese fabric scraps, and I'm going to use it for the kimonos for my next big project that I do. And it'll have a lot of great contrasting colorways in there, so I didn't need to purchase just 4 that would go together, right? This one slayed me. I know it's pink, But look at those cherry blossoms. Isn't it gorgeous? Couldn't you just see that in a foundation paper priest kimono? I know, it's gonna be beautiful. I'm so excited. And these ginseng plants. And that one has gold in it, so it's shimmery. I don't know if you're getting that on the screen, but so pretty. So I'm pretty enthused about this. I mean, look at these prints, guys. I'm very excited. So I didn't buy big pieces of fabric. Oh, I bought a lot of zippers, because zippers are the bane of my existence in sewing, and I need to get better at them. And the only way to better my skills is to do it more. And I know this, and I know it's going to require some painful moments at a sewing machine, but the only way to conquer it is to do it. So I'm going to do it. So I got some zippers that are like this big. I was like, the smaller it is, the more I can do, the more practice I'll get. It'll be good. Because Sean is really upset that I haven't put a zipper into his sweater. But if he knew how upset I am at doing zippers on a sewing machine, I think he would be less bummed. Because they're seriously bad news bears for me. I cannot tell you the troubles I've had so far with zippers. And material is super forgiving. Because even when your bobbin just becomes a hot mess of a nest under there, and you go to pull out, you know, the mess it has become, and taking those knots out of fabric, I've broken fabric. I've put holes in it. I'm not ready to do that to knitting. And it stinks because I've realized that the machine that I have does not like to start sewing at the edge of fabric. I've learned it the hard way, and it is just, it's the machine. I asked my auntie, she has an older machine of the same style. She's like, yeah, mine can't do it either. I have to fold a piece of fabric and get it going on that, and then push my next fabric to start at the edge of it. So I'm just not starting on the edge of fabric. I'm getting as close as I can. But I can't do that chain piecing that everybody else can do, because it'll just eat the end of my fabric that I'm trying to feed in. It's awful. So I'm jealous of people who have those Janome, is that how you say them? Janome machines, because they do it like it's its job. But my FAF won't do it. It just destroys the end of fabric. It's awful. Anyway, so that's that. And now I told you at the start of this that I already thought I was taping this episode. So I'm just going to announce the winners that were going on in the third quarter round of this year's TOPS. Oh my gosh, we had 24 pictures. And so I went to the thread and I pushed on the 24 of photos. And so it listed all the photos in order that they were posted. Now, some of you posted a couple pictures. So I'm just counting from, you know, the top picture and counting each picture as a number, as an entry. We had socks, shawls, sweaters, kids stuff. This was a full round of awesome. You guys did so well. So the third quarter has come to an end. I closed it off shortly into October, and I've started the fourth quarter thread as well. And we already have some FOs in there. Notice that I added, previously on this episode, you saw that I made something out of Tarte, which is Madeline Tosh, and it is a garment. So now Madeline Tosh is one of our yarn qualifiers for our knit along. I can spit this out. So go back, because any of your FOs from the start of the year that now include Madeline Tosh or is a Hokie pattern, because I'm working on lemongrass, which means Hokie is now a qualifier. Go see if you have something from Mad Tosh or Hokie Complete from January to now and put it in the fourth quarter FOs, because now they qualify and you've already knit them this year. So now you find out that you were participating in this knit along all this time. So please go see what the qualifiers are in the chatter thread. The first 4 posts in the chatter, the first post is the first quarter knits and designers that were used, and so on. So now for the third round, I went to random number generator with the 24 photos, and number 8, number 11, and number 12 were the winners. So that is Arts Lover. You're getting a pattern from Nettie1020. Thank you for sponsoring Anna. And Moe's Crochet, you're getting a pattern from Bacon Fairy. I'm going to be sending them your guys' names, so you don't need to contact them. But you will be receiving patterns from them of your choice, and I hope it's something that will qualify for the fourth quarter. If not, that's cool too. I just want to see you guys knitting. And the third winner is Lucci Lucy, and she got this project bag by Annetta. And she sent me this a few months back, and I couldn't find it at the end of the second quarter to give away, so I'm giving it away in the third quarter. It's a beautiful drawstring bag, fully lined, and you know what? It's fully reversible, so if you want the party on the inside of your bag, you could have a gray plain bag too. So yes, I love this. It reminds me of summer, and if you are missing summer now that fall is upon us, this can bring you right back to it. And it'll fit all kinds of stuff. I'm thinking even up to an Aran weight sweater will fit in this bag. So Lucy, give me a ring and I will send this to you over in Spokane. Oh, this is gonna be a local to me winner. This is so exciting. So thank you so much, guys, for participating. In this round, Kim made a poncho that won out of crochet. Moe's Crochet made a beautiful crocheted tank top. And Lucy made the Tsunami, which is a shawl by Josh Ricks that I really want to do, or one of his. He has 4 or 5 that uses a self-striping yarn and a solid yarn and makes a shawl out of it. So you don't have to make socks out of those self-striping yarns that you've bought. Maybe you're not a sock knitter. Well, you can make a shawl, and hers turned out so beautiful. It was blues. Actually, everybody who won had blue in their FO. So that was a quarter of blues that won. I am so stoked that you guys have knit along this long, and let's finish this year off with a really awesome fourth quarter. We've had increasing numbers of entries from the start. So we're gonna try to top 24 from the third quarter. And I think we can do it because I think we already have 5 in there. Hi, I'm back to tell you about Knitmas 2019. This will be the second time I'm hosting this knit for knit swap among knitters. So for the knit worthy out there, which are people who knit, right? We should be top on somebody's list. But do you find that nobody knits for you? I have a few friends that knit for me that I've really enjoyed knitting for them in return. And I just think this is the best way to see your knits out in the world. It's going to go to somebody who's completely knit worthy because they already knit. So that's you and that's me, and we're getting together and we're going to do a swap. And this is open to international people as well. So if you're watching this, you have a few days left of October to sign up for this knit for knit swap. So this all came about because a knitting friend of mine, who's also a moderator in this group, hi Annetta, she and I decided, why don't we do a little swap between you and me? And what do you think of, I find something in my stash, 2 skeins, and you find 2 skeins. You send me what you want, I'll send you what I want, you knit something, and we'll send it back, the finished object, to each other. So we're going to be knitting the same thing, and we're gonna end up with the same finished object, but we get to be knitting it for somebody else, and we'll see it done for us in return, right? So that's kind of where this whole thing got conceived. So we decided to simplify this swap that Annetta and I did last year. and do a knit for knit swap using 2 skeins for someone else in this group. And so we put it out there, we had a questionnaire, had about 15 questions. I've consolidated all of those into one post, so you will copy and paste those questions into a new post and you're going to answer them as they pertain to you. So this will be your partner getting to know you and your likes and dislikes. And that's the most important part, right? Because that's the part that we kind of get held up on when we do obligation knitting, is we're kind of doing an unknown, right? I don't know if they're gonna like this pattern. I don't know if they love this color, but I love this color, or I hate their favorite colors, right? So I'm gonna just do what I want. Well, in this case, you're gonna be posting answers to all these questions that float around in our heads when we're doing obligatory knitting for somebody else. So I think I've devised enough questions for us to be concise and clear as to our likes and dislikes for our partner. And I've also included things that you could do a little extras in the package. So this swap runs between November 1st and the first week of February. Mostly because, yeah, I realize it's Christmas time and we might already have obligation to knit for the people in our family or in our close friends that get Christmas gifts from us that are knit. So I don't want to mess with your time schedule up to Christmas. So that's why I have all of January. If you can't even start or think about this knitting until Christmas is over, that's fine. You still have a month and 5 days to get something completed for your partner. But you might be someone who doesn't like to knit for Christmas. And so now you have something that you can do leading up to Christmas and all about somebody else. So this will start November 1st. You'll get your partners, and this will be a secret swap, just like last year. I'm going to leave the thread open that's already current, where you place your answers to your questions, open. So if you guys want to show sneak peeks of what you're knitting and actually knit along in this swap, we could facilitate that. I think not many of us showed much, and it was a big secret reveal in the end when February came around. Now, if you finish up early, can we put off mailing it closer to February? So you could be done before even December happens, right? You might just get so excited November 1st and go hog wild. I already have colors that my partner has in my stash. I'm going to use these 2 skeins. I'm going to do, name your pattern right here. It could be patterns in their queue, in their favorites. It could be something that you just want to knit. Last year, I knit what I wanted to knit for my partner, and it worked out. I went for a shawl because I find that shawls are really easily worn all the time. It could be in the middle of summer. It could be winter time. You're using it as a scarf. Sometimes people use them as shawls, over the shoulder, keep you warm. And other times, I find that people just use it as scarves. And it's an easy accessory to throw on. So my idea was to go with a shawl last year, and I think I'm going to be doing that next year too. I'm wearing mine. So one of the questions, and if you are already signed up for Knitmas, I would love for you to review and go back and see if you answered this one correctly. One of the questions has to do with, is there something that you love knitwear-wise, but you don't enjoy doing the work, right? It's one of those, don't hate the knitting, hate the process, right? I do not want to learn to do brioche, but I love the look of brioche. So my partner last year made me this brioche bandana cowl, and I love and adore it. Love and adore it. And she used my favorite color, which is purple, and the contrasting color is white. And of course, the best thing about brioche is it's reversible, right? But brioche is a process that I don't want to learn. It just sounds like more work than fun to me. So I was super stoked to find this as my Knitmas gift from last year. Oh, I love it, Julia. So go back to that question, and you want to answer it to, I don't want to do the work, like cables are too much work, or I just don't have the lifestyle right now that can do lace in peace and quiet and be able to get that done, right? In all of its glory, without lifelines every row, right? There's something that you remove from your queue because you just know you are not going to enjoy the knitting process. So answer that question in that vein. So go back, guys, because I think only 2 people answered it the way I was intending for it to be answered. And this will help, because what if your partner loves that process? I hate stockinette. Hate it. I hate doing it. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't enjoy those back and forth knitting that produces garter. Not my favorite knitting. No. I want something technical and complicated, something that requires me to sit by myself, and this is me all the time. I'm sitting by myself and knitting. So I have the time and the headspace to get the complicated stuff done, and that is my most favorite thing to do. And maybe that's your partner's favorite thing to do, but it's not your favorite thing to do. So go back to that question, answer it in that way, and maybe you'll be getting a partner that wants to make you something that you're gonna love and adore, and you just don't think that you can have it in your world because you just can't get yourself to knit it. So I hope you guys are finding this and you realize, oh, I've got 2 more days to sign up for this. I wanted to do it last year. Well, this is your opportunity to do it this year with us. So it runs from November 1st to February, the 1st week. So there's plenty of time. If you're finding that I just don't think I have the time, you might have enough time between November and February to get a little something done for your partner. And what's required is 2 skeins of yarn. And this is 2 skeins of yarn that you would love in return, right? So let's stay away from acrylic. Be aware of your partner's allergies. I'm allergic to alpaca, and I think there's other people that are also allergic to the flyaway fibers that irritate people's noses and sinuses. Just be really kind to each other. For the most part, people last year used independent dyers and skeins that they love. I got to use two skeins that I wasn't going to see done for me because it was a podiversary. So it was one of those surprise packages you get from an event, and this was from the Stockinette Zombies. They had a podiversary, and so it was a mystery skein that was coming in the mail, and it was actually a pair of skeins. So one was mostly blue with speckles of pink in it, and then the secondary contrast color was a bright pink that showed up in the blue. And you know, for the life of me, for a year, I was trying to think up things that I could make with this set of yarn that are so beautiful, and they were Brew City yarns, which is out of Minnesota, and I was just so excited to use them, but knowing that pink was going to irritate me anytime I looked at it. So I just couldn't find something to make. Well, it turned out my partner loved blue and pink and purple and a slew of other colors, and as soon as she said she loves pink and blue and purple, I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen. I can use my favorite Stockinette Zombies yarn that I was going to have no use whatsoever. It was going to sit in my stash forever, and I was going to be depressed about it. But this gave me the opportunity to, 1, make it for somebody else, 2, get it out of my stash, and 3, know that she was going to love it, because she's also a Stockinette Zombies follower, and she actually didn't get that podiversary kit and was really sad that she didn't. So in the end, she got something that she was kind of yearning for, and I got to gift that to somebody else. So it's huge. This knowing that you're going to make something for a fellow knitter, I didn't know that I was going to love this activity so much, because usually I really only like to make for me. It sounds horrible, but we have learned this skill because we love knitting and we love the finished piece and we want to wear all the things we make, right? But I found that this one wasn't a struggle. It made me happy. Once I figured out the yarn combination I was going to use, it made me happy the entire knit. That's huge. I do commission work, I do tests, I do sample knitting. I don't really enjoy the process of that. But in this case, I did. So if you guys want to join in on this fun, we would love to have you. So check that out on the Loopin' About boards. There is a thread open right now. And until we knit again, bye.